So welcome everyone, and another big thank you to Krysten for coming on. She's the therapist parent, which really doesn't need any introduction because, you know, if you're anyone who's on the social media on Facebook or Instagram, you'll know her beautiful, amazing work around supporting kids' emotions, supporting parents in order to help their kids with their big emotions and behavior. And I'm just so excited to have you on. I'm literally trying not to like bounce in my seat. So thank you for coming on.
You're very welcome. It's fun. It's always fun to do this.
Yes, yeah. So I'm really glad that we could sort of find a time. I know you are incredibly busy and you wear many hats and you've got so many different things going on. We were just talking about that before we jumped on. So we're going to chat for about half an hour or so, mainly around how we can support parents and kids, you know, dealing with big emotions and all the sort of challenges that come with that. And I'm going to sort of pick your brain a little bit. And I know your wisdom around, you know, how we can really help our kids who are just trying to find their way in our world with a whole lot of rules and regulations and what's appropriate and what isn't, and all of those boundaries and things. That's really, I think that's really tough for them. So so thank you so much for coming on. What I will do quickly is tell everyone a little bit about, you know, who you are and your background, just for those of those parents who are maybe new to your work. Krysten is an author, an illustrator, and a psychologist of 20 years, over 20 years working with kids and families. And she's worked in a variety of different settings, and really, you know, she's seen a common threads and themes with kids and families through her work. So in response to this, she's developed a range of really creative, awesome ideas and tips to help bring all these proven strategies of hers to a wide range of people, a wide audience. So she does this with her children's book, her puzzles, her blogs, her social media, beautiful products that we'll talk about at the end. And of course, you're always sharing what you know helps kids and parents on Facebook under The Therapist Parent, and on Instagram over at _therapist_parent. Is that right?
Yeah, that's it.
Yes, I got it right. So really what we sort of chatted about, you know, in terms of what we're going to share, or what you're going to share on today, was, you know, parenting, how that can be challenging, and how we do, you know, a lot of us need help and support because it can be really tough sometimes with kids, especially over the last couple of years.
Yeah.
We don't have to, you know, even talk about, you know, what's gone on and why it's so difficult with COVID and lockdowns and home, all that stuff, you know, we get it. So I guess something that I want to sort of start off and ask you about is, you mentioned that parenting has changed and our understanding of our kids and their emotions and behavior is changing. I don't know if it's just the circles that we're in and the stuff that we're sort of watching and learning and reading about, but you know, supporting parents is really important if they are going to be able to support their kids, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So do you want to speak a little bit about the, you know, the changes in
parenting? Yeah, I look at it, it's even changed in psychology. So in the 20 years that I've done it, the difference between when I first was an intern and I was working with families, and, you know, I was telling them to do timeouts, thinking chairs, you know, all of the sticker charts, all of that. And I now think, oh my gosh, I cringe when I think how many parents I sort of told to do this too. But we didn't know any better. This is what we thought was what changed behaviour. This is what we needed to do. Thankfully, I'm seeing a shift even in schools, slowly in schools, and in health, which I work in as well, where we're understanding that it's not, you know, rewards and punishments that are going to change behaviour. We actually need to have connections with our kids, and we need to help them. And as we understand, you know, brain development, and these kids aren't doing having these tantrums or having these behaviours because they're manipulating us, and that we should stop giving them attention of that kind of behaviour. It's not where it's coming from. It's that they're doing what they're supposed to do as little kids, and it's our job to help them and to help them calm and to talk them through and to problem solve and, you know, be their little support coaches rather than these people that are going to put them in timeout and shut them away and do the, have you seen the pegs in the schools with the...
Yes. Oh, you know, I feel the same as you. I was not a psychologist, but a speech pathologist for 10 years before I moved into doing emotional intelligence and parenting. And I too used to recommend rewards charts and like, oh man, now I look back and I think, oh my God, it was awful. Like, I also think, oh, the amount of families that I spread that information to, and like you said, we didn't know any better. So now you mentioned you're seeing a shift away from the rewards, the punishment. We had Alfie Cohn on a couple of weeks ago, and I think his interview's just gone up, and he, you know, beautifully explains it. But maybe I should ask you, why do we need to move away from those, shaping and changing the behavior of our kids using rewards, using punishment, things like that?
Well, it all comes from these external influences to make change. So what we're missing is that we're not getting the internal change. Our kids aren't doing these behaviours because they know it's the right thing to do, or that they're able to think through what consequences could be, and making those internal changes and understanding their emotions and all. It's just because there could be a reward or there could be a punishment. Yeah. That's not the change we want, because as soon as there's no rewards and punishment, are they going to change? Are they going to do the things that we want them to do? Probably not. And it shuts down their emotions, shuts down their ability to think through and to have emotional intelligence and to think about what's going to happen. How does it affect other people? Why are we doing this? It just won't give the long-term change that we want. Yeah.
And I remember I've either read it on one of your amazing blogs or on one of your posts, that cooperation, not obedience, is the goal in parenting. Can you explain a little bit about that?
Yeah, okay. So if we, like we used to, where we wanted immediate obedience from children, and what that is just fear, basically. We're bringing in change from fear. We're not having the child think through why do we want this? Why is this a good thing to do? It's actually not respect. A lot of people were under the opinion, if a child does as they're told straight away, then they're being respectful. No, they're just shutting down so that they don't get in trouble. Respect is when they have a strong connection with you and they want to do what you want them to do because they love you and they respect you and they want to please you because you have a connection, you have a relationship. And that's where the change is going. That's where the behaviour really changes. That's where they develop as a person. And surely that's what we want our kids to grow into, is someone that thinks about their behaviour, thinks about what the impact of it, and makes the decisions that way.
Yeah, I love that. That's really looking at things and supporting our kids at a deeper level rather than that surface level, isn't it? Yeah. And so what I wanted also to get your wisdom on, I know I keep using that word, but why do our kids, young kids, but even primary school and older children, why do they have such difficulty managing these, what we call the big emotions, anger, sadness, frustration, disappointment, confusion, all those kind of things?
Well, there's a few reasons, and one is just a very basic brain development. Kids, there's a bit of controversy about brain development at the moment, and how it evolves, how it develops from the reactive part, and it's from back to front. There's now challenges around that, but but basically still the brain is developing, and it's not fully developed until they're at least in their 20s, and could be even longer. So they will be stuck more in their emotional part of their brain. So it is normal for them to have a big reaction when things don't work out, because the thinking part of our brain, our problem solving part of the brain, hasn't had enough practice to develop yet. So they can't stop and think about, okay, so I wanted the pink cup and mum gave me the blue cup, but that's okay because it's still a cup. They can't do that. They wanted the pink cup. So instantly in that, rage, because they're just overwhelmed by their emotions. They haven't had the practice, or the brain isn't developed enough for them to be able to do that. And I just think that our expectations of these poor little kids, like, we understand that it takes time to learn to tie your shoes. It takes time to read. We don't expect them to do that instantly. It's exactly the same with managing emotions and thinking through problems. It takes time.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I often share this little, I call it the baby walking slide, because it's a little slide or an image of a little baby trying to walk, and the parent, like the legs of the parent and the little hands of the parent holding the child, the infant really learning to walk. And just explaining that, it takes time for an infant, for a child to learn how to walk. That's a developmental process. So is, riding a bike, or, doing maths, or learning to manage emotions. It takes time. And I love that you mentioned the sort of the wiring that isn't there yet, the brain development. I think, what else can you, or sorry, not what else, why is it so important for parents to understand a bit about their child's brain in order to, better help them in those big emotionally charged moments?
It's really important, because parents can take things personally, or they're really worried about what other people think, or why is this kid just dropping to the floor every few minutes, it feels. And it's so important for parents to realize that's normal, and that is okay. That they're not doing it on purpose. They're not bad kids. You're not a bad parent. This is normal, and it's okay. And we just need to help them through, and they will get through it. It's not, hopefully, forever. If we can help them through and to teach them those skills, they eventually can do it themselves. But it is very, very normal, and they actually have to do it. This is that part of the brain developing. So we have to sort of ride it out. And I think when we understand that, we can kind of relax a little bit and go, okay, just got to do this. It's all okay.
Surrender to what is. And what are some of, I know you have so many beautiful quotes and bits and pieces that you share with your illustrations. Do you have some favorite ones, or some really popular ones that just capture, that whole adjusting your expectations, or bringing down that sort of the emotion in those times? What are your favorite quotes of those?
Of my own quotes, or of other people's quotes?
No, your own.
My own quotes. Oh, geez, that's a hard question. I've got one here.
Yeah.
So I put in a frame for when, you can see the light. For when I did the prints, and it's about how to be able to co-regulate with your kids, so helping them to calm. We have to feel calm, we have to be calm, but we have to have connection. And we can't expect that our kids, meet us. We have to meet them in their world. I think that kind of puts it all together, that we need to try and keep ourselves calm, which is really hard, and I totally acknowledge it, and nobody does it all the time. Nobody. I don't care who you are. Nobody does it all the time. But if we can stay calm, if we are conscious of having a connection and continually keeping that connection with our kids, and that we will meet them in their world and not expect them to come to ours, then I think that kind of covers the
Wow.
main thing.
Yeah, meet them in their world. I love that. I think so often we're trying to pull them along into, you know, we've got 5 minutes, we've got to get out the door, or
Yeah.
this is what's for dinner, just eat it, I've slaved over it, or, you know, you've got to do your homework, so just get it done. You know, all of that stuff, we're trying to pull our kids into our world and get them to, yeah, obey and comply and do what they're told. And I love that you share there's just a whole other way, a whole other approach, or you know, goal, I guess, of connecting and supporting our kids deeply rather than just the
And
self.
I think, so I think that parents often can struggle with the idea of connecting with their kids. It really isn't, it doesn't have to be big things, but one mistake or problem that we can have is if we try and get them to come into the things that we like, and they, well, I like doing this, so do this with me, and that will build a connection. That's not how it works. We're the adults, we're the grown-ups, we need to meet them in theirs. So you might have to play with them and do a game that you don't really like. Don't enjoy.
Roblox.
Yes, Minecraft. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. I can relate to that one. And or anything else. And that's where we're really going to make those connections and the bonds with our kids, is when we take the time to care about their world and what's important to them.
Yeah, that is so important. And so if we shift into when our kids are having, let's say, a really tough time, maybe a meltdown, things are just not going their way for them, and they are not coping. I know that, you know, again, your work, your blogs and the articles and stuff, we talk about when kids are in this stress response and they really lose that upstairs brain, the logical, rational problem solving. What can we do, or what can you share with parents? What do you encourage them in those moments, the really tough, stressful ones? Some things they can do.
First thing is, do what you need to calm yourself. If you are not calm, you're not going to help. So if you need to take a break, it's okay. As long as they're safe, it's okay to go, okay, just give me a minute and then come back, because you're not going to help them calm if you're not calm. They're going to meet you and you're going to meet them, and it's just going to escalate and escalate. So first thing is, if you can, depends where you are and what's going on, but try, if you can't go and have a break somewhere, then at least just acknowledge that this is really hard. Take a breath. Then remind yourself they're not doing it on purpose. That's not fun. They don't enjoy doing that.
Yeah.
It's not a win for them. Then they're not just trying to get their way, they're overwhelmed. So recognizing that for yourself, then you try and help them calm. So for some kids that might mean a hug, and that is absolutely not rewarding behavior. That is giving them the calm that they need in that moment. Doesn't mean you give them what they want and that you lose your boundaries. All you're doing is helping them calm. Everything else can stay the same. If they don't want to hug, some kids really don't want you near them. Then that's okay. But just let them know that you're there and that you're ready when they are. Try and keep calm. That still works. You don't actually have to be hugging for that co-regulation to work. Just having a calm person nearby actually does help. So stay close, stay as close as they are happy for you to be. Let them know that you're there, and just wait it out, because once they've hit that stage, there's not much more you can do until they can calm. Yeah,
beautiful. And so I want to pick up on something that you said, the concept of, if I hug my child or show them that care and connection and affection when they're in that state, that is not coddling, or
it's not rewarding,
or being a permissive. It's not rewarding. Can you speak a little bit more on that? Because I know some parents think, if they're like lashing out, or they're saying I hate you, hurtful things, am I rewarding the behavior if I'm comforting them?
No, not at all. Not at all. And I hear that a lot, and it's really quite sad, because if you think about, if your friend was really upset, was like completely overwhelmed, crying, our natural response would be to hug them. We wouldn't think, now, is this rewarding their behavior? They need, they're attention seeking right now. we would give them a hug and help them calm. So when you help your child calm in that moment, giving them a hug, letting them know you get that this is hard. Yeah, it's horrible hearing that you can't do something that you want to do. That's not rewarding the behaviour. That's helping them calm. You still keep your boundaries. So it's not permissive, because you're not saying, oh, okay, you can put TV on then. You just, no, it's really hard when mum says no. I get it. I like watching TV too, but we can't do it now. We need to do this. I'm here if you need a cuddle.
Yep. Yeah. I love it. Yeah. So I think that's definitely a shift, a paradigm shift, or a shift in beliefs that a lot of parents have, because we've for so long been taught that that is reinforcing. That's that old behaviorist, you know.
I know. And like I was saying before, I was one of the ones that told people that, because that's what we believed. I'm so thankful we're realizing that's changed. I'm so sorry to everyone that I told that to. Hopefully they're okay.
Yeah, I love how you're so open about it, and you know, vulnerable, because I've chatted to my other speech OT friends as well, and I think, oh my God, guys, we did this and it wasn't that many years ago, and so it's
but we all did, because that's what we knew.
Yeah. So I'm just really grateful that your voice and your message is reaching as many people as it is, because this stuff it's transformative, isn't it? So
absolutely. Yeah.
I know we are going to finish up in a couple of minutes, but you have an amazing, very recent article on your website about developing impulse control in kids. Can you share a little bit, like maybe a takeaway for parents? Because I know that can be so tough when your child just will not either stop what they're doing, or they just can't resist the urge to whack their brother or grab the markers.
Yeah, look, I think the main takeaway again is, remember, this is a normal thing as well. It takes time and it takes practice, and it'll take a lot of, you know, calming and then talking through what could we do next time. You know, we're trying to get that logical part of the brain developing, and the only way we're going to do that is by practice. So it's after the situations, you know, what could we do next time instead of this? Well, if you did that, what would happen? Trying to get them to think through, to kind of get that part of the brain developing. Like we said, it takes a while. Look, there's lots of, I think I went through it in the blog, there's little activities, even games like Simon Says, and all of those are great to help that impulse control, because they're learning to stop, they're learning to listen, and, you know, with practice they get it, they will, but it's okay.
My kids love What's the Time, Mr. Wolf.
Oh yeah, I remember
that. You have so many beautiful resources and tools, puzzles, books and cards and things on your website that are available to parents. Do you have some there that you could quickly show us?
Yes. There's always something here. So especially, I guess, because we're talking about emotional intelligence, these are my feelings cards, so they've got the names. So I drew these because I was a bit frustrated that a lot of when we do teaching kids emotions, a lot of the tools are very cartoon sort of, you know, and they even have like eyebrows that are off their faces, and they're exaggerated, and I get that, but they can be really confusing for kids to, you know, I don't really feel like that because my eyebrows are still here, like. So I drew these that are like real. I don't know if you can see how well you can see them. So they're realistic. So they're great. They're great to help kids recognize feelings. They're great if your child is upset or is struggling with something, and they don't want to talk about it, but they might be able to point to a card and show how they're feeling. Yeah. So those, and then I've got some breathing cards that help with relaxation, and a mindfulness hand puzzle. Again, it teaches kids about visualization and relaxation and connecting with your senses. Yeah, gratitude cards. Because
So
gratitude's so important.
yes, there's so many things. I really encourage people who are watching to jump on thetherapistparent.com, because there's so many beautiful resources and tools that are available to help kids to deal with those big emotions, to recognize them, to have a bit of awareness of what they could do, you know. And I think to help us as parents, give us some tools and things is just, you know, half of the work sort of thing. We don't know where to go or what to do and what to say, so having those resources is really, really empowering. So thank you so much for those.
No, that's fine, that's good.
So thank you again for coming on and for sharing your wisdom. I know there's some beautiful comments of the parents who are watching along on Facebook, just saying that this is so helpful. It's going to help them and a lot of other parents as well. So thank you guys.
Oh, fantastic. That's great.
So many parents who are in need of, you know, that support that you provide. So, you know, on Facebook, The Therapist Parent, and Krysten's also obviously on Instagram as well. I'll put all the links and things like that in the description when we hop off, so that you can go and find her amazing work and screenshot and save all the pictures. Yeah, get some of the resources and those the beautiful posters, fridge magnets and things like that. They're amazing. So is there any one little tiny thing or a piece of encouragement or anything you want to share before we jump off?
Oh, look, I think the main thing that I like to get across to parents is stop being so hard on yourself. Realize, and stop being hard on your kids. They're doing the best they can, and so are we. We just got to work it out together.
Yeah, a big bucket load of compassion for ourselves and our kids as well.
Yeah,
parenting's a roller coaster ride.
Absolutely.
All right, thank you so much again, Krysten, and we will see all of you guys very soon for another interview and another moment of bringing this wisdom out to everyone, because we all really need it. So thank you so much.
That's okay. Thank you.
Bye.